Hi, welcome to today's Tea Time Top Tip, and we're still answering the question, why does it take me so long to design training? This tip is all about something which I've discovered from working with people on developing their training design skills, whether it's been through my online courses, my Designing for Digital Delivery program, or working with people one-to-one through design coaching. And it's something that I didn't fully appreciate as someone who's always had training design at the core of my business. I didn't necessarily realize that people tend to try and fit it in. So training design is going to take you a lot longer if you try and do an hour here, an hour there, a couple of hours here. I've always set aside big chunks of time to design training. And the reason for that is, for one, I was being paid for it, so obviously I had to give it the correct amount of time. But secondly, it takes a while for your brain to get into the zone. So if you're only allowing yourself a couple of hours between meetings to try and write a piece of training, by the time your brain's got into it and you've actually written something down, you're then having to go off to your next meeting and you've forgotten where you were. And we all know that it takes time to keep getting back into that same mindset. Pick up where you were mentally, look back over what you already did, think about, oh, what was that thing that I found that I was going to include? Where did I put that? It all takes time. So my advice to anyone who is designing training, if you want to reduce the amount of time it takes and do a good job, and let's face it, we want to do both, is you have to treat it exactly the same as you would delivery or facilitation. And that means you need to set aside time in your diary for it in exactly the same way. What tends to happen with a lot of people is mentally they think, well, I need a couple of days that week to do some design work. So it's up here in the head, but they don't put it in the diary. So when someone comes along and says, oh, can we have a meeting? Can we have a catch up? Slowly but surely that time is eroded. And before you know it, the 2 days that you had is suddenly down to about 4 hours. And there's no way you're going to be able to write something decent in 4 hours, particularly if you've got 2 hours here, an hour there, and an hour there. It's never, ever going to work. So setting aside, ring fencing time in your diary, saying you are unavailable, switching off your emails, switching off your social media, switching off your phone is so very important, because once you're in the zone, you're going to be able to get through that design so much more quickly. Now, just a little caveat to this is that obviously training design is quite a creative process, and sometimes our brains just aren't in it. And that's a fact, that's a reality. So I mentioned on one of the previous tips that typically we need 3 days to design 1 day's course, and realistically allow yourself 4. Now, if I'm allowing myself 4 days to actually do the work, I like to be able to know I've got available about 6 days worth of time, because sometimes something urgent does crop up and I do need to steal that day from design, but I know I've got time somewhere else that I can pick it up. Sometimes my brain just isn't in it, or I have a computer nightmare that day and nothing's working. So I need to be able to give that up, work on something else, and then come back to it at another time. So always set aside more time than you need. Don't do it all just before your deadline. And in terms of how much time do you need, I understand that, we all have busy lives, and it's unlikely you're going to get a full day free to design training, and you might find it quite hard going anyway. But please, as a minimum, set yourself 3 hours, because in 3 hours you can do quite a lot. So no meetings, no interruptions, give yourself a leg stretch in the middle of that 3 hours, and you'll be surprised at how much you can do. So if you say, right, I'm going to clear all my admin, this is what I do when I'm designing, I clear all my admin till about 9:30, everything goes off, and then I work till lunchtime, and then I allow myself a break. I bring up my social media, I catch up with everybody, I respond to any emails, and I shut it down again for another 2 to 3 hours, and then catch up again at the end of the day. So it's about being disciplined with your time, and it's about setting aside that time so that your brain can get into the flow and you can do your very best work. So that's my tip for today, to help you take less time over your training design, Give it the time it needs and make sure that time is focused time. Okay, I think I've still got one more left to do this week. If you're enjoying these tips, remember that the tips like this occur every single week in the VIP group, along with lots of other things such as how-to guides, and obviously the resources and the weekly designer drop-ins. So if you like this sort of thing, come and be a VIP. If not, I will see you tomorrow for the last reason as to why training design takes so long.